Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be working on the Shelby GT350 and I'm very excited because today we'll be installing some things that I've been waiting to install for such a long time. So it's actually 3 things, but I'll be installing 2 out of those today. The first one I actually custom designed, so I sat with the designer for it. And then the second one is something that I've been waiting for another vendor to finally come out with, and they finally released it that it fits this car. So you can say that I've been waiting for such a long time and I've been literally counting down the days for this, but let me show you what those are. So this is the first thing. This is my customized front splitter. It's modeled after the FP350S front splitter. Now the differences between this one and that one is that this one is a little bit wider on the sides and it also extends a little bit more. Now I also got these wheel wickers. So these sit at the rear of the front splitter but right in front of the wheels, and then this just prevents any air from going inside the wheel well and then just creating any unnecessary turbulence. So I'm very excited to install this. Now this is the second part, but let me open it first. This is the second part. These are canards and these are by none other than APR. So the story behind these is that APR already had these canards, but they had them only for the GT. They just recently came out with these canards that fit the GT350. It was like about 3 weeks ago, so as soon as they released them, I jumped on them. Now these are real carbon fiber and you can just tell that the quality is just excellent, so I'm also very excited for these. Now the other thing that I also had to get customized are these support rods. I had to get them a specific size just because if we go back to the front splitter, so for the FP GT350S front splitter, those support rods go from the front splitter to the front beam behind the front bumper. So it's not like other cars where you see that those support rods go from the front splitter to the bumper. No, these will go to the front support beam. So I will be drilling into my car today, not only for the front support rods but also for the canards, just because it's going to produce a lot of downforce and you want to make sure that it's secured and tight on there. Now the first step to this is going to be lifting the car up. I already have the quick jacks under the car. Then I need to remove the wheels and remove the front bumper, so let's get started with that. Okay, so now that we have the car raised up on the quick jacks and the wheels are off, it's time to remove the bumper. Now I've done this once before, so let me show you exactly all the bolts that need to come off. So first off, we have 2 bolts here, so 1 on each side. I'm not sure if you can see it, it's all the way up there. So that's on the left and the right side, and then we have bolts here on top. So all of these bolts that need to come off, and then we have bolts down the belly pan that we need to remove. So let me just tell you a little bit story. So the first time I did this, it was my first time. I was a little bit like wondering what to do, but I mean, I ended up using like 2 buckets or something because this should be for like 2 people to help you take off the front bumper. The way I did it the first time was a little bit Mickey Mouse, so I think I'm gonna change up my method today. So first, I'm gonna start a little bit backwards. I'm gonna start off by removing the bolts from the belly pan first. Then I'm gonna raise the quick jack just a little bit, get this bench and slide it down the middle, and then lower the quick jack just a little bit so the bumper can rest ever so slightly on the front bumper. And then I'll go ahead and remove the bolts from each side and then here on top. That way it's easy for me to just, once all the bolts are off, I can just slide it off. So let's go ahead and start that. So my initial plan of using that bench under the car was a massive fail just because it was too high. I even raised the car all the way up to the highest setting on the quick jack, and it just still was too high. So I ended up using this rolling stool, which I think it worked out better because I supported the belly pan on here, and then I just used it to roll it out. Meanwhile, I was holding the heaviest part, which is the front bumper. So I just rolled it out, and then I decided, well, I could still use the bench to put the widest part. So I think it worked out even better. But now we get to start with the fun part. So the first thing is going to be the canards or the dive planes. So that's gonna be one of the easiest things. I think once we move along to the other steps, it's gonna get a little bit harder. So this is just gonna go here on this opening as such. Man, that's gonna look so nice. And this is gonna be pretty easy to install. So I can pretty much just use a marker just to mark where these holes are here on the bumper so I can install the hardware. Then once we're done installing that, we can move on to the second part, which is this front splitter. Now this is gonna be a little bit more involved than the canards or the dive planes, but still not as difficult. It's not gonna be the most difficult thing we do today. You see these holes right here? So these holes align with these holes already here, and then this is what supports the RF splitter, and that's gonna go underneath the RF splitter. So I'm not removing this. Here comes the most difficult part, which is these support rods. Now this is gonna be extremely involved just because I really can't mess up with this. I need to cut into the grill just because I need to get this at an angle. So once the front split is installed, I need to make sure that I get the correct angle to cut in here inside the grill, and then it's going to go here onto the bumper support. So I'm not sure if it's going to go towards like the top area or towards the bottom. I'll need to measure that once the front splitter is installed. So let's see, this is going to be interesting. I really don't want it to be misaligned, so this is gonna take a lot more time, but let's just get started with installing these dive planes now. Just finished installing these canards. Now it wasn't too bad, but you do have to make sure that you properly align it and take your time because you do have to drill into your bumper. So the first thing I did was put blue painter's tape on the bumper just because the instructions do call for you to put tape. Then I made sure that it was aligned and I marked the holes with the marker. Then I started drilling. So first I used this small drill bit, but I quickly realized that that was too small, it wasn't working, so I used this larger one and that worked perfectly fine. Then I manually threaded the bolts. Now they also provide these nylon nuts, so I did place them here in the back and this Allen key, so I just use this to hold the bolt and then use the ratchet in the back. Now it looks absolutely great. I'm not sure if you guys can see this because you have this pole in the way, but it looks a lot more aggressive. It kind of gives it a facelift. This is a lot closer to the vision that I have for this car. I absolutely love it. And that's just one of the things, because now we need to move on to the front splitter and it's gonna look even more aggressive. Now keep in mind that even though it does look good, at least to me it does, the main reason that I did this is for functionality since I do track the car. But I think that's it for today because I did start a little bit late and I have to work tomorrow. So it's tomorrow, and today we are finally going to be installing the front splitter as well as the rods. Now I already moved the bumper on here on my famous bench that you guys make fun of, but hey, I mean, it's worked so many times, especially today. It seems to be the perfect height to hold this and to have this side free as well as the other side because I need access to both. I already went and measured the front splitter on here just to make sure that everything aligns and all the bolts align, well, all the holes align for these bottom bolts, but I do need to make other holes on there. So there's these, so there's two on this side and two on the other, so I need to buy some bolts. So for that, I'm gonna go and head on to Home Depot. I'm not going to Lowe's just because it's already closed. Just in case you guys are wondering. So I'm gonna go over there and get some bolts and then we can finally begin with installing this. I'll see you guys there. The front end splitter is now installed. It wasn't hard at all. I was thinking it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but this bench and just having the bumper positioned the way it is just made things a lot easier. Now, if you see, all of the bolts are not the stock ones. Before leaving, I thought, let me take one last look at it, and I just figured that the stock bolts probably weren't going to be long enough to clear this thickness and also the other splitter that I have here. So I ended up getting longer ones and also other washers, which is pretty much right here. I ended up getting so many things at Home Depot. Now, if I show you here on this side, I can show you how long they are, and they just fit just fine. So if you can see right there. Now, I really can't have like a pretty good look at it of how it looks just because it's in this weird angle. I kind of have to twist my head. However, it does look massive. I can't wait until the bumper is on its right angle so I can take a good look at it and show you guys. But now there's one last piece remaining, which are the support rods. But here I already went ahead and cut the grill. So one side and now the other side. This wasn't hard at all. I just used some pliers. Now the only thing that's going to be a little bit more involved is going to be actually test fitting the bumper back on the car to figure out exactly where on this support beam I need a drill for the support rods. Now I can't do that job by myself because it's going to be almost impossible. So I'm going to have Chris help me test fit the bumper back on, figure out where I need to drill the support rods. So I'll see you guys in a second. So it's day 3. I honestly did not think that it was going to take this long. We ended up running into a whole bunch of issues, but let me show you exactly what happened. So first I was going to use these support rods that I had showed you guys, but these did not end up working out because they were just way too long and they just didn't fit. Luckily, I had bought other sets of support rods for other cars in the garage for future projects and ended up using these. Now you can see the height difference. These are just a lot shorter than the first ones. Now the only problem that I ran into with these is that the ends were too short. So at this point, I just ran out of skill set and I just didn't know what to do. So I asked Chris and he actually ended up coming out with the good method. So he engineered this that I'm about to show you. So we're gonna be using this washer to increase the surface area and then this spacer on top of it. This comes with the kit for the support rods. And then on top of that, to increase the height, we're going to be using this spacer as well. But this spacer has other spacers inside. So it has this little one and then this other one here. And the purpose for this is just for when the bolt goes in, it goes in snug and it's not moving. And also once you align it on top of these, then it's aligned and it's not loose because we don't want that. After that, we ran into another issue, which was I just didn't have any tools to drill into this thick of a metal. But then my neighbor ended up coming through with this tool set. So shout out to Davis, thank you for that. And we were finally able to drill into the support beam. So as you can see, we drilled into this bottom part here. So here they are. Now in order to drill here, this plastic shroud had to come off. So this has like a whole bunch of bolts and clips. So it's really annoying to just have to keep removing this and then putting it back on in case you need to make any adjustments to the bolts. So then we ended up coming with the idea to instead drill these access holes on the side so you can see them here, and then that way you can access the bolt whenever you need it without having to keep removing and then adding this back on. So glad we figured that out. It ended up being a group effort, but I'm so glad that it's finally done. Now the only thing remaining is to put the bumper back on, then attach the rods to the support beam, then to the front splitter. Then we can put the wheels, lower the car. So I'll see you guys then. Finally done with this. I absolutely love it, but I also did install those wheel workers, so let me show you those. And those are right here. So I really do like how they just tie in together and they are connected with the front splitter, if you see that right here towards the bottom. Now let me show you how the car looks on the ground. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love how the canards just give it dimension, and the canards with the front splitter just give it a lot of sharp angles, which I'm a big fan of. The rods, I think, tie in the entire look completely. It just gives it a lot more aggressive, an aggressive look, an aggressive tone to it. But there is one thing that I'm not happy about, which is the grill. So I did show you guys how I had cut it in the beginning. Now it is a bit of a gap here on both sides just because I really didn't know how I wanted to to angle these rods, either if I wanted them straight or just a little bit sideways with a little bit of an angle, and they just ended up looking a lot better just straight. So I did already purchase a grill, which I will be replacing this because honestly that really does bother me. But other than that, I am so happy with this installation. This is exactly what I had envisioned for the car. And I know a lot of you are going to be asking me, what is the clearance on this? Because look, it looks so low. I was like shocked with the clearance. So I did go ahead and already measure this, and this is 3 inches. So if I can put my foot here. I still have like a little bit of space there, but barely. Luckily, the area that I live is mostly flat, and then when I do go to other areas, I mostly assess it and just check how the roads are going to be, how the entrances are, and if it's a bad entrance, then I'll just find another way to go, or I'll park across the street. But I'll do anything to avoid just damaging the front splitter. But I don't even know what to say. I absolutely love it. Now, there still is one more piece that's just gonna balance the car. If you guys can guess what it is, comment down below. I'm excited. I will be doing that next to the car. Then once I'm done with that, I think I'm just gonna focus on the hood, just because this one is not really as functional. I really do need a more track focused hood that's gonna just provide better airflow, better cooling. Once I'm done with that, then I'll probably be like 90% done with the exterior of the car. I still have a few more things, but I think those can wait till just a bit later on. So after the hood, I'm just gonna focus on the interior, and then once I'm done with the interior, then I'll go back and focus on power. But I absolutely love this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.